that shit.
Welcome to Trash Talk MMA.
Smile on my face, behind my back, and talk trash.
The #1 podcast for news and insight that matters in the world of mixed martial arts. Brought to you live and unfiltered from all four corners of the globe by MMA aficionado Antoine Pelche.
Yo, and welcome to the Trash Talk MMA podcast. I'm your host, Antoine Pelche, and today I have two distinguished guests, Mr. Travis Lutter, former UFC middleweight contender and winner of the Ultimate Fighter Season 4, and Jiu-Jitsu ace, Paul Halme. How you doing, guys?
Doing good.
Doing good.
Excellent. What brings you fine gentlemen to Phuket, Thailand?
We were supposed to film a documentary with Stuart Cooper, and then the other thing that we're doing is doing seminars and then sightseeing. So,
excellent. So, what's the basis of this documentary? Is it something that's been in the work for a while?
We've talked about it on and off, over the years and stuff like that, and it's just a jiu-jitsu documentary, I guess, on me.
Yeah, your jiu-jitsu history.
Yeah, my jiu-jitsu history. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny you brought up Stuart Cooper because I was just a lot of the Tiger Muay Thai guys have some promotional videos done by him, and they're really slick pieces of work. Where is he based out of?
England.
He's based out of England. Okay. Yeah, I like his work. I'd like to. I'll be curious to see when he gets that done and check that out. So Travis, I'm not gonna lie, man. When I was walking around, Tiger Muay Thai, and I saw that you were coming to do a seminar, I was pleased because it's been a long time since I've had any news from you. What's been keeping you busy since you've retired from MMA?
Just training jiu-jitsu, running my gyms, doing that stuff. We go to a bunch of tournaments over the course of the year. We always go to Worlds, the adult Worlds. We always go to Masters Worlds. We always go to Nogi Worlds, and then a bunch of other tournaments that we go to. So we follow the jiu-jitsu scene pretty close, and stay involved in that.
Okay. So you're out here doing a seminar at Tiger Muay Thai as well.
Yes.
That's going to happen this afternoon. What takes place in those, and what are your individual roles, Travis and Paul?
I'm just going to go out there, and I'll probably start off make introductions, remind people who I am, and then we'll probably work some passing the guard, mixing in some strikes along the way, and then once we go to the guard, pass the guard, then we'll, probably gonna work the way that I hold the back and try to work my finishes from there, and then if we cover all that in the 2 hours, then we'll probably add in what I do from the guard from an MMA perspective, on the way that I play and stuff like that.
So. Okay, so it's definitely a jiu-jitsu class tailored for usage in MMA.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So speaking with Paul earlier when we just got here, you mentioned that you'd cornered Travis in a lot of his fights, and one thing I sort of wanted to revisit was that you didn't have the longest MMA career, 16 fights, but you had a lot of notable names on your resume. So you fought Jorge Rivera, Marvin Eastman, Matt Lindland, Trevor Prangley, Pele, Patrick Cote, Rich Franklin, and of course the great Anderson Silva.
Yeah.
How was it? What was it like being in the corner for some of these fights, Paul?
It was cool. It was a cool experience. One thing about Travis, he didn't take easy fights, where a lot of guys would.
No, he was
none
one
of those
are.
So it makes for an interesting career, and it was a lot of fun. Got to see a lot of cool things and take part in a lot of really cool training camps, and then the fights, of course, were amazing.
Now, Travis, is this something that you wanted to do right out the gate? When you got into MMA, did you want to take big fights right away? I mean, you got thrown into some pretty deep waters pretty quick.
You got to remember, it's like I started fighting. My first fight was in 1998, and that's I don't know when they started doing weight classes, but I think it was after that they started adding into the UFC weight classes, and it's like at first they only had the 205-pound weight class and stuff like that, and then by the time I made it to the UFC, that's 2004. Then they had 170, 185, and 205 weight classes, but that's all they had at that time. So it was a lot different. I just wanted to fight. It's like my original goal was to be, the 185-pound world champion. I wanted to be the toughest man alive. And then over the course of a few years, you go, okay, I'm not quite big enough to be the toughest man alive, so I'll be whatever weight class I can fight at.
Yep.
And I fought at 205, I fought at 185, I competed in jiu-jitsu against the really, really big guys. So it's like the goal was always just to just be the best. That was it wasn't ever about weight classes and stuff like that. It's a different feel when you're talking to the modern generation. You're talking about it's like I started doing MMA shortly after the UFC. It's like I think the first UFC was in 1993. 1993, and it's like
22 years old.
Yeah, and it's like I fought in UFC 50, and we're at UFC 185 or something like that now. That's a lot of evolution, a lot of different changes and stuff like that. So it's like the goal was to be like Royce Gracie and fight everybody.
That's a great segue for what I want to talk about next. You entered the world of fighting through wrestling. You've wrestled since you're 12, correct?
Yeah, I think 12.
Okay, and then it seems that once you saw Royce Gracie fight, that your fascination turned to jiu-jitsu quite quickly.
Yeah, I was done with wrestling then.
So what is it you saw there that fired that up in you?
It was just he was beating wrestlers that were better than I was at the time. It's like you got a big... it's like when he beat Dan Severn. It's like Dan Severn's a big, really, really decorated wrestler that, it's like this is... Now his best years in wrestling were behind him, but he was still just a beast and a big, big man. And it's like... And Royce caught him at around 12 or 15 minutes into the fight, and he caught him in that triangle. That was, it's like that was a motivation. It's like, okay, I want to do that. And it's like, so that was my goal.
So, I mean, as a kid, was it something that you saw like fascinated with, I guess, perhaps smaller guys beating up bigger guys?
No, I mean, you didn't see that. It's like, you got to think back. It's like I was 24 years old and 1993, I guess I would have been 20 years old, 21 years old when the first UFC came out. It's like by the time I moved to Texas, I was 24 years old. It's like my heroes, it's like I didn't grow up with MMA heroes. I like boxing. I read a lot about boxing and stuff like that as a kid. But in South Dakota, there's no place to box. So I never, so I wrestled. And it wasn't about, it was just, it was about, I remember when Mike Tyson won the world championship, and when I was in high school, he was 18 or 19 years old. I think 19 years old when he won the heavyweight world championship, and it's like, okay, that's who I want to be. I want to be like that, and that was my motivation. I wanted to be the toughest man alive because that was who it was.
Be like Mike. Yeah, absolutely. I think we all can recall those good old days, and that's really when boxing was the shit. That's when people were really excited to tune in.
No, 1970s. Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali is like, this is before our time and stuff like that. I think that's the golden age of boxing was the 70s. It's like you had two undefeated champions fighting each other, and Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier in 1972, 1971, and it's like it's like there were the two guys. It's like that were undefeated, going out there and plowing into each other, and Joe Frazier knocking him down in the 14th round or 15th round, winning the fight, and then going on to lose the fight to George Foreman, another undefeated heavyweight at the time. So then you had two undefeated guys. They weren't. George was a former champion. He was Olympic champion, but it's like that's the golden time, I think, for boxing. If not the 80s.
Yeah. I mean, how old are you?
I'm 41. Almost
41. I'm 39.
39.
Paul, yeah. So I mean, what I meant from the Tyson era was that's the era that I remember as a kid growing up. I didn't. It's interesting because I've always been interested in combat sports, but boxing has never been a passion of mine. Are you guys pretty adamant?
I've read a crazy amount about boxing. From the beginning of boxing till now, and I follow it pretty closely. It's like I'd much rather read about it than I would watch it. So.
Okay. Are you guys excited about this Pacquiao-Mayweather fight?
No.
A few years ago would have been a lot better.
Yeah, it would have been great a couple of years ago.
So what do you think's taken a bit of the luster away from this fight?
Pacquiao's lost twice.
Yes.
That's pretty easy.
And once of them quite violently.
Yes.
That was a brutal knockout.
Yeah, it's like it is. So it's
You put them together, both undefeated, and that's the biggest.
Pacquiao was never undefeated. He's got 4 losses. So it's like he lost as a 112 pounder. He got knocked out as a 112 pounder. Think about that.
Do you guys still think it'll be the biggest fight ever in boxing in terms of numbers?
They charge so much for this stuff. It's got to be.
Yeah.
You know, it's like UFC went up on its pay-per-view price. I think $10 now.
Yep.
Another $10. You know, it's like it's easier to do big numbers when you keep it up in the price.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, the UFC shows there's a lot of them out now too, man. It's not just that they bumped up the price; they've bumped up the output. It's becoming hard to follow. You know?
Yeah, it's hard to keep up. You know, if you want to sit there and watch everyone, I don't even attempt. You know, it's like I watch. You know, I might watch a free one, maybe.
So you don't watch pay-per-views?
And then if I go with my school, my gym, I'll go watch it. Or if somebody invites me over and, hey, you want to come watch the fight? Oh, who's fighting? And it's like, oh yeah, I'll come over. Nah, you know, it's like I don't really care to see Ronda Rousey beat up somebody, so I'll skip this one.
Oh, that fight was just deplorable. I was like, wow, that was the biggest brain. Did you see that fight?
I saw it on Instagram.
Yeah, it fits on Instagram.
Yeah, it is.
The
whole fight's on Instagram.
And you're like, why would she do that? Like, that was the biggest brain fart in title fight history.
Yeah. You know, you've got, you know, yeah, Ronda's really good.
Yeah.
She is really good. Incredibly good. So, Travis, your last UFC fight was versus Rich Franklin in April of 2008. After that, you took 2 more fights, one against Jason McDonald, I believe, in MFC.
Yep.
I like Jason McDonald.
Yep.
And then your last fight was against Rafael Natal in May of 2010, and you've been retired since. What brought that on? I know you were a victim of you were suffering from some neck injuries.
I hurt my neck real bad before the Rich Franklin fight, and we had to postpone the fight. And then it was okay. I don't think I was ever quite the same after I hurt my neck. And then I hurt it again really, really bad right before, 5 days before the Natal fight. I hurt it really bad. I fractured a vertebrae. It turned out I didn't have it until afterwards that I have it looked at, and so I fractured a vertebrae. I had three bulging discs. I had narrowing of the nerve pathways and some other craps that was wrong with it. So I had a 3-level fusion. You know, it's like the only other guy that I've heard about having a 3-level fusion was this Boss Ritten. Boss had a 3-level.
Because didn't Nate Quarry?
That was his back. That's his back. That's his mid back or low back.
Okay.
And me and is in our neck. You know,
they don't do that surgery yet like he did on his back. They can't do it for the
neck.
They
can't do that. They can't do that surgery on your neck yet.
So obviously that was the key reason that prompted you to retire as a professional fighter.
Yeah. I was done. You know,
okay. How are you feeling now?
I feel okay. I had the surgery. I waited a while to have it, and I feel okay. You know, it's like.
Yeah, I read leading up to it that you wanted to try to treat this naturally. You wanted to avoid surgery. I read an interview of you saying that. Is that a philosophy that you followed for a certain while?
I just don't like surgery. I don't have an ACL in my right knee. I busted it in 2003, and I've never had it fixed. I had one scope in like 2006. 2006 or 7. I had it scoped, and they. And I wouldn't let them fix the ACL. I just cleaned it out. I just don't like surgeries. It's like, I just think that the damage that they do sometimes, fixing stuff, and it's like taking the time off would have been killer for my career at that point in time.
Yep.
And I didn't realize at the time that it was over because of my neck anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered, but it would have killed the career. And so I opted not to have the ACL surgery. It doesn't give me any problems. It's like it's a little bit looser, but it's like I've got really strong hamstrings, so I just don't worry about it. It doesn't bother me in jiu-jitsu. My guard works just fine, and it's like I don't like to run anyway.
So are you in any pain?
My neck or
discomfort?
My knee?
Well, especially
my neck hurts. Every day. Every day the neck hurts, but it's like it is what it is. I don't, I train jiu-jitsu. I wrestle occasionally, not a lot anymore, because that hurts it. I don't spar anymore because that hurts it. And it's not the direct blow that hurts it. It's when it gets bumped. It's just like it's like when somebody just it's just bump or
grazing,
or it's like a like a really, like when the planes bump them, hits the turbulence, messes up my neck terrible because it's just the shaking and it's just so it's just those aftershocks or something like that bothers it a lot. So it's okay though.
So I mean, at that time, man, you had a good momentum going. You were fighting professionally. You were fighting in the UFC. Were you really? How did you deal with this psychologically? Like, did you feel like, hey, this is my bread and butter. I got to keep doing this. How did you keep?
No, I was running my
running?
gyms. I was still running my gyms and stuff like that. You know, so it's like the gyms were going well. And in 2006, 2007, I had probably two of my best years ever with the gyms. And then in 2008, the economy kind of tanked. So we really started focusing on the gyms. Both Paul and I, he's got a gym too. So it's like we both really focused on learning and getting better as far as running our business. And it's like I make way more money now than I did in 2006 and 2007. Off of running my gym. We had a downturn last year, but it's like it's way better than then. So it's
more profitable than fighting.
It's way more profitable. Nobody hits me in the head, and nobody on the internet calls me names usually. So,
so you don't miss it.
No.
Okay. Now you two go way back, right? I mean, how long have you guys been friends for?
20-some years.
22 years.
22 years. You guys were buddies. Did you go to school together?
Met in college.
College. Yeah.
And then you guys have just been training together, competing, supporting each other, competing.
Moved to Texas together, train together, compete together, do a lot of things together. So
yeah, Paul was a golfer in college. He was a very good golfer, and so it's like he didn't have any wrestling background and stuff like that. So it's like and when he moved to Texas, then he got into training and stuff like that. But it just took longer for him to develop than a guy with a wrestling background. But Paul's really good. Just beat Babalu at the Masters No-Gi Worlds, so it's like he's really good.
So do you still compete in any capacity, Travis?
I'm supposed to do the Masters Seniors Worlds.
No, Masters.
Just Masters. It's just Masters Worlds now in September's my goal right now.
Okay, now do you have opponents lined up for that already?
No, jiu-jitsu is different. You just sign up for the tournament, you go do it. It's the IBJJF. It's not like MMA. You just show up, pay your money, you go out there, compete.
They seed the bracket.
They seed the bracket.
You
just go.
Okay.
Like a wrestling tournament.
Yeah, right. So, Paul, how about you? Are you still competing professionally?
Just in jiu-jitsu currently is my favorite thing now. It's like I'll be 40 this year, so just always trying to do the best we can. Like in the international tournaments, Travis and I have been Japan, Brazil, basically competed all over. And then winning the Worlds last year was a big thing for me, winning it in no-gi Worlds. Like this year, the big goal is to try to win it in gi Worlds.
Okay.
So for Masters Division. So it's fun because jiu-jitsu is a great outlet for competitive people because they break everything down by, age groups. So you have 30 to 35, 36 to 40. So you have guys that are 50, 60 years old, black belts, 5th, 6th degree black belts competing still against each other. It's awesome to see. So it gives you a hope where you don't have to stop competing. You can keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and you run into some big names too that are competing in the Masters divisions now. Yeah. You have like Babalu, you have Shanji Hibero, Saulo Hibero. I mean, you got like
there's a lot of big names.
A lot of big names.
And what's the grappling tournament now that the Gracies are running there? Metamoris.
Yeah.
You guys interested in that?
I don't. If they wanted to, that'd be great. It's like I'd for sure do Metamoris.
Probably be a great fit for you.
Yeah, it'd be fun. I'd definitely do Metamoris. That'd be fun.
And I beat Babalu, and he's doing Metamoris again.
Yeah, Babalu did.
He's fighting Sonnen.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, and I beat Babalu just in November.
Okay. So. Yeah, they just announced that last week, right? Uh-huh. Okay. It's interesting. Good old Chael Sonnen.
Yeah. One thing that people don't talk a lot about with Travis's history too is he won the Gracie Challenge. They had one, like the big one, that was kind of set up for the Gracies to win, and Travis actually won the whole thing. So you will not find a video about it.
Yeah, there's
so
no video. It was in
2003.
2003. It's like it was.
Alio was there.
Jeff Monson was in it. Jeff Monson, David Avalon, the Henner and Haran Gracie were in it. It was an 8-man tournament. There were some other guys,
and then me, the first round,
and then me, and it's like, and then I won it, and that was the last one. And
back then it was huge.
It was a big deal
compared to like Metamoris when you got like $5,000. It was like $5,000 to win. It was back like in the 90s.
Yeah, it was 2003. 2003.
But you had Alio there, and then the big guy who passed away from the Green Mile was.
Oh yeah,
Michael Clark Duncan. All these guys were there, front and center.
Ed O'Neill was there.
Yeah, Michael Clark Duncan, he was a big fan. You used to always see him front row at the UFCs.
Yeah, he was there. So it was.
You'd see Juliette Lewis.
There's no video of that tournament.
Yeah, I never saw the video.
Nobody wants to see that video.
Maybe him or Haran will want to do a rematch with me. There we go.
Yeah, because you beat Haran in the finals.
Call him out.
No, it was semifinals.
David Avalon was a final.
Yeah, David Avalon was final.
So I mean, obviously, you made a name for yourself in the UFC by winning the Ultimate Fighter Season 4, and then you got a title shot versus Anderson Silva, and obviously that had the twist to it that you failed to make weight, and that the fight was on a 3-round non-title fight. But I think what people remember most about that was that you put it on him pretty good. How do you remember that fight?
You want me to describe the fight? Or
yeah, well, it's just, I remember watching it live. I mean, I actually remember I was in Vancouver working at EA Sports, and we went down to Seattle for a Seattle Sonics game.
Yeah.
The whole NBA Live team. I was working on NBA Live, the basketball game. And on the way back, we stopped at one of those, those roadside truck stops, whatever, to grab a burger or something. And I checked my phone, and it was like, it's no longer a title fight. Travis failed to make weight. It's just a 3-round middleweight fight, and everybody was like, they were bummed, man. We were just, we were stoked for the fight, because it looked like you were bringing something new to the table that Anderson hadn't really faced in the UFC. So there was that initial disappointment. Then you came out, and we can definitely talk about what happened with the weight cut. But then you brought the fight to him, and I remember everybody. I would always host the UFCs at my place, and people were jumping around because we were happy to see that finally somebody was giving this guy a test.
Yeah.
So, what happened with the weight cut, and how do you recollect this fight?
The weight cut, it's like that was my 6th fight in a calendar year. And I never fought that much. I fought Pele in London about 12 months before that, and then I fought in Fort Worth, and then I went on the Ultimate Fighter, and I had 3 fights there, 3 fights on there, and then I fought Anderson a year later. And I think I was just a little bit burned out from cutting weight. I just, it's like that weight cut was a little bit tough for me, and it's like I cut from 205 pounds to fight in the finals of the Ultimate Fighter against Patrick Gauthier, and I thought I could make it from a dehydrated to 210 pounds.
Now, at that time, did you have a nutrition coach?
No, nobody did that. There wasn't. It's like you got to keep in mind. It's like I was fighting for $20,000. It's like it was. It's like.
So you fought Anderson for 20 G's?
$20,000. Yes.
Best dude in the world.
Oh, but it was 10-10, wasn't it?
No,
it was 20-20. It was 10-10 before that, yeah.
It was 20 and 20. It was right. It's like, see, there was no money to pay a nutritionist. It's like, why didn't you go to a camp? Well, I had a gym to run so that I could feed my family, because that $20,000, that's not going to pay. That's not going to. It's like, what's that going to do to feed my to feed my family and make money for me? It's like, so it's like it was just a different time. It's like there wasn't the guys are making a lot more money now. It's like, I don't know what Anderson made that night. I'm sure it was much more than me, but it's like that's what I was getting paid, and so. As far as
yeah, that's a rough number to wake up for.
Well, they took 10% of it. Keep in mind they took
Anderson got 10%.
Anderson got my 10%. Since I missed weight. So.
How did you feel physically when you walked into the cage though?
I felt okay. I didn't feel great or anything.
Did they try to make you? How much did you miss weight by? I think it was a couple
like 3 pounds or something like that.
The final one though was 1.5 pounds.
Yeah, I think you were 186.5.
Yeah, it was 86.5 at the final weight.
I don't know. The whole weight cut process, the last 4 hours was very, very foggy. As far as like what I remember and stuff like that, that was kind of out of it. As far as fight day, it's like I felt okay. It's like you never felt amazing fight day after cutting that much weight and stuff like that. But it's like I felt good enough to go out and beat him, and I thought I would. So Yeah, you had him in trouble at some times. And I remember that was and that's what I remember you by. And then when I saw your poster at Tiger Muay Thai, I'm like, sweet man, this guy is the first dude to bring it to Anderson. Now let's fast forward to today and the recent scandal involving Anderson, him being defeated, brutally twice by Chris Weidman. Again, in hindsight, what do you think of this scandal of him getting popped for steroids? I didn't think he was one. I thought he was one of the guys. BJ Penn in about 2005, 2006, said that everybody was on steroids.
Yep.
And it's like, I read the article and I go, okay, there's two guys on steroids, me and BJ. And it's like, and that was, a joke I told amongst some buddies of mine. And we laughed and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but it's like, I knew that there was a whole bunch of truth to it. I didn't think Anderson was one of them. Now, with that being said, I don't believe him. It's like him getting popped the way he did, it's like his answers afterwards, it's like if he would have came out and said, listen, I was, after the fight, after I broke my leg, my doctors told me to take this and blah, 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 and lied that way instead of lying and saying that he didn't take it, that was a big difference. So no, I believe that, he was probably juicing the whole time. It's like his body didn't change. He's not any thicker. He's not. It's like he looked. His body looked basically the same as he's looked for the last 15 years.
Yeah, he hasn't aged.
Yeah, it's like he's not aging, and it's like, so I think without a doubt that he was probably juicing the whole time. Which would make sense. It's like the guy was dominant, man. He was good.
Very good, and that makes Chris Weidman altogether very impressive as well.
Yeah,
what was your reaction when he knocked him out that first fight?
My opinion about that is Anderson's chin was gone before that. It's like that's not the same Anderson Silva that was fighting in, the mid 2000s. It's like when Chael knocked him down. Chael's got 0 knockouts in his career. He fought 30 some times or something like that. He had 0 knockouts. I don't think I've ever saw him knock anybody else down.
Let alone Anderson.
Let alone Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva, it's like Jorge Rivera fought him, and we were talking about him, and it's like, because, in the house we were talking about Anderson. He goes, listen, Anderson Silva, I fought him in Cage Rage, and he goes, I caught him flush. I hit him as hard as I could. And he looked at me and smiled, and I said, fuck. And he goes, man. That was the end of the fight.
And Jorge Rivera hits hard.
Jorge's got a good chin.
Yeah.
I don't think Jorge had ever had a good chin after that fight, but Jorge had a really, really good chin, and he hit hard. It's like Jorge was good, and it's like, it's like that, and then you got Chael Sonnen, not taking anything away from Chael. Chael's really good athlete.
It's not his bread and butter, though.
Yeah, but that wasn't his thing. And it's like when he knocked Anderson Silva down, it's like he got hurt by somebody else too once, I thought, where I thought I saw it when he was fighting, and I thought he got hurt. And it's like, so for not taking anything away from Wiedemann, but it's like I don't, he didn't beat the best Anderson Silva, because that Anderson Silva, everybody gets old. It's like arguing. It's basically like arguing, well, I beat Muhammad Ali. Larry Holmes says I beat Muhammad Ali in 1980. Well, sorry, that Muhammad Ali isn't the same guy that was in 1964.
Yeah. Gravity and age do their traumatizing work, don't they? Good Lord. Well, it's and I didn't think Anderson Silva looked all that good against Nick Diaz either. I thought that was a bit of a glorified sparring match.
Coming back after that fight,
that itself is impressive.
Yeah, it's like that was good. Diaz, I thought, looked worse. It's like, what the heck? It's like his punch count and stuff. Usually, he's throwing about twice as many punches per round. This is a guy that, it's like I didn't understand his strategy, and it's like I read an interview, or I listened to an interview where he talked about he thought he won the fight, and it's like,
how?
You need to.
I agree, and I find that the Diaz brothers, they're 2 of my favorite fighters of all time. I think Nick Diaz's fight, Nick Diaz against but Nick Diaz versus Takanori Gomi at Pride 33. I don't know if you saw that fight. It was one that took place in LA. In Las Vegas.
Gomi?
Yeah. That's top 3 of my favorite MMA fights of all time.
Yeah, that was a good fight. Gomi was never the same after that fight.
Yeah, and he'd already been rattled a bit in Pride just before. But I love Gomi. I love that era of Nick Diaz. But him and his brother, I find that their signature is the volume output, the offensive output, and in both of their last 3 or 4 fights, the guys, they spend more time telling the other dude to punch them in the face than they spend punching the dudes, their opponents in the face.
They're getting old, and it's like, it's like you're starting to slow down. They're not as fast as they once were, It's like Anderson's still fast. That's the crazy thing is Anderson's still fast. Diaz didn't look fast in the fight, and there was a time when he was fast. And it's like, and that's the biggest thing in MMA as far as I'm concerned is once you start to lose speed, it's like with those little gloves. I think it's a bigger deal than in boxing. Yeah. And then the other thing is it's like the MMA fighters still don't have the same level of boxing hand skills that the boxers do, and it's like Roy Jones Jr. just knocked out a guy in his last boxing fight. He's like, what is he, 46, 47 years old now, and it's like, and the guy beat, is legit. I mean, it's like that's
where you talk phenom, like where the guy's got a real genetic gift, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I think the biggest thing with him is like he was so gifted in his prime that he didn't have to box. It's like somebody like Bernard Hopkins. Bernard Hopkins had to box, and it's like, and that's why he was so successful for so long. I mean, that guy's 50 years old and still winning titles, or I think he just lost. He just lost a title, but it was like a title that was taken from him in a fight. And he's 50 years old, but that guy boxes. It's like they fought in 1992. Roy Jones Jr. and Bernard Hopkins fought at like super middle, I think. And it's like, think about that. That's a long time ago. That's 22 years ago.
Yep.
23 years ago.
It's pretty amazing. For myself, I'm no athlete, and I've come out to Tiger Muay Thai and to this road here to train, and you do a little bit of sparring, and you take little shots, and you see that just when you're pity-patty punching, the damage you can take, and you think that there's some guys who are fighting for 20, 30, 35 years. It's insane. Yeah. It's insane. You're just like, how is it possible that some bodies can handle that wear and tear?
Is Bernard has a little bit of because he spent some time in jail, so he didn't get to fight in some of his prime years.
We're just probably fighting in there too.
Probably, but it's probably not as much damage. Without the weight of the glove, when you're fighting with your bare hands, it's that you don't do near as much damage. That's why it's like in the beginning of UFCs, it's like watching the beginning of UFCs, you didn't see any knockouts. Yep. And it's like that glove, taping up your hand and putting that pad on there, and that little bit of centrifugal force that glove creates, you hit a lot harder, in my opinion, than you do with a bare hand. So it's like he probably didn't sustain too much brain damage.
So you guys got your gyms. Why don't we talk a bit about that? What are your courses? What are people coming to you guys for?
We both teach jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, and MMA. Okay. And we got adults, kids. My stats are around that 75% adults, 25% kids.
I'm closer to 50-50. We live in an area that's got a lot of kids, a lot of families, so it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
that's actually an interesting topic. Let's dwell on that a little bit. What do you guys think about that for kids? How can they enter correctly and safely into martial arts? What would you recommend? What age and what disciplines?
Man, we start teaching them at 4 years old. Yeah, I think you actually start.
We still have a 3-year-old class for some of the little ones.
It's like and it's like mine. They're learning jiu-jitsu. His they're learning
jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai. So it's like at that age, I think it's perfectly safe. I think it's great for them. Okay. It's like at that age, parents don't even have a lot of options on what they can put them in there because they're too young for soccer. They're, they might be able to start dance or something like that. But there's just not very many sports. So when they get older, they get more sports and stuff like that. So then there's, but these, we're not going to have them sparring. It's like they're not going to be putting on gloves and getting hit in the head and stuff like that.
Do you guys have time to go to a Muay Thai fight when you're out here?
Oh yeah,
we've done it before. Yeah,
it's fun.
Because they get them going pretty young.
Yeah, they get them going young.
That's a little bit different.
a little different.
Yeah, a little bit different.
Our kids are on Xbox,
and they even get the ladies going young here, man. I mean, last year when I was out here, I went to a bunch of fights. I didn't see any girls fight, but this time there was literally girls. I mean, 7-8-year-old girls fighting.
I'm really against kids getting hit in the head till they're like, it's like I understand in boxing and stuff, you've got to have kids getting hit in the head, but they've done the studies that like the football and the soccer, these kids getting hit in the head by soccer balls using their head. They've decided that since the brain's not fully formed until you're like 21 years old. It doesn't cement into your brain, into your skull and stuff like that because it's still growing and changing and stuff like that. And so that these kids, until that age, hitting the soccer ball with their head can cause concussions. playing high school football, lots of concussions, and these kids they end up with brain damage. And so it's like my kids aren't going to spar. It's like if you need to at least wait till you're, I would hope they wait till 21, but it's like once they turn 18. But as a kid, I'm not going to have them doing that.
Now, do you find that who's motivated to come to these classes? Is it the parents that want their kids to learn self-defense at a young age, or are these kids showing up, hey, Daddy, I saw something on TV, or I read a comic book, and there's some ninjas and some karatekas, or like
more parents self-defense for me.
There's a little bit of the kids, hopefully that's where it ends up, where the kids are dragging the parents to class, but it's mostly the parents are wanting to, and it's really less about jiu-jitsu and more about all the other things that martial arts gives the kids, respect, discipline,
confidence, deal with bullies,
maybe a bit of spirituality.
We don't do too much of that.
Yeah.
So we do more the,
But you see a big change in the kids with confidence, and bullying's such a huge problem, and it's cool to see these kids that the kind of dorky kid who probably got picked on a lot gets a little bit of confidence, and it just changes his whole life. And he might want to play a different sport. Yeah, they walk different. They carry themselves different.
When they start walking different, all of a sudden they become. It's like becoming less of a victim. It's like if you can teach a kid not to be a victim, you've won, because people are going to. Why do the same people keep getting mugged? It's like I'm not saying it's their fault, but it's a lot of the
You got marked for a reason.
Right, you got marked. It's like why can me and Paul walk around a lot of the world, and it's like I've been in lots of different places, been to Brazil, been to here, and not get mugged.
Yep.
I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I mean, heck, they mugged some fighter in Brazil. I mean, it's like they got a gun and I don't. They win, but it's still there's easier people to get money from them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a confidence and it's an aura that's going to radiate entirely from your persona. That,
right.
That's just.
Yeah,
and so law of attraction, man.
If you can give that to kids, give that to kids so that they feel confident, and and some kids aren't going to mess with them. That's important.
No, it's cool. That must be a rewarding feeling.
Yeah.
That you're helping forge some kids to just be stronger, physically, mentally.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you guys. How can people stay in touch with you guys on social media?
I'm on Facebook, Travis Lutter, and I'm on Instagram, Travis Lutter again.
Same thing on Facebook, Instagram, Paul Halme,
Twitter, stuff like that.
You guys pretty active on there?
I am more than
I am more for my school. I don't do much personal stuff. I still do some, but I do a lot of school promotions and stuff like that. And when we go on like this trip, we'll do some video stuff. We've got a couple different social media projects we do. We co-founded the Jiu-Jitsu Life, which is basically a page about jiu-jitsu and just living the jiu-jitsu life. We've got 150,000 fans right now. So, it's cool. So we'll do a video while we're out here, just kind of, because jiu-jitsu's changed a lot. It changes a lot of lives. It's changed mine. Travis is what got him started too. So it's like we basically created that, and then one thing we're working on too. We're doing, Travis is doing different projects. Doesn't talk a lot, but doing software. We're building an app.
Excellent. What's your I've been involved in software for 15 years.
We designed it out of a frustration, almost in a way, and then some cool stuff we added to it. So we're building an app, basically for starting off with jiu-jitsu students, how you log your training, log your ranks, basically store everything in the cloud, so then you never lose your data. So you can have what day you got your second stripe on your blue belt. Okay. What class did you do March 5th, 2004? Hard save everything. So it's a really cool app. We'll have videos and everything like that. And so we've been developing that. It's been a long project going on a year and a half now of development. So
listen, my friend, I'm very I'm intimately aware of the suffering and the delays of software development. Yeah. It's a brutal process, and people think they see 20 million apps out there and a million video games, this and that, and people have no effing clue what it takes to make these games, the grueling process that it is.
We started storyboarding this app a year and a half ago. I couldn't imagine what making a game would take. It'd be unreal.
But it's pretty cool. It's the way that if once it's done and we get to see the final product. We've saw the product along the way in the development stages, and it's very, very cool. And I think that it'll hopefully be helpful for people and stuff like that. So
that's excellent. I had no clue you guys were working on that. If you encounter any difficulties and you need some good additional resources or anything, let me know. I know a lot of people in the business. I was in the trenches there for 15 years. So if you need some external feedback on it or some impartial feedback or external design and whatnot.
Awesome.
But that's great. That's great. See, these are the stories I'd like to hear, that you guys have been competing, you've been fighting, there's the wear and tear, and you're finding ways of staying current and keeping these multiple revenue streams open. And, having social media is super important, and having your own app, it's a great way of promoting your brand. It's a great way of getting your message out there, getting your services out there, and connecting with people.
Yeah.
People live on their phones with these apps, man.
Yeah,
What else are we starting?
I saw you hesitate there.
Yeah,
went, okay,
it's funny because people think about like Travis, like, oh, where's Travis been? He's been fighting him. Where it's like between him and I, we're always working on. We create different products. It's like literally he's into software development now, real estate development.
Yeah, real estate.
So he does a lot of stuff. It's kind of funny. People think of fighters as not doing a lot, but it's like, it's like you find these different things like developing real estate software. It's like it's literally super time consuming, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just so key to know that there is a life after fighting. And it can be even one better than the life during fighting.
Yeah, Well, it's sad. You read, we'd go to these fights and Travis would be fighting out corner and talk to different fighters and just meet people and talk to them. And then you fast forward 10 years and you read these horrendous stories where they're living on their mom's couch and they can't do anything because they put their whole life into the UFC.
The Ultimate Fighter, it's like, in the house, it's like the first week we're there, it's like a payday came along. So it's like you're deciding on, how you're going to, it's like, okay, you get a check. Okay, well, what do you want? It's like there was 2 guys on the show that it's like, okay, I'll just you just keep it. You can just give it all to me at the end. There's 2 of us, and then it's like, and then there was everybody else, and it's like, and I would guess that situation's not that different than it is now. It's like I remember Shoney Carter, it's like, okay, baby mama number 1 gets this much, baby mama number 2 gets this much, baby number 3. It's like he probably left that place as broke as he walked in.
So did you get paid to be on the show?
Of course.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, of course you got a.
So when you compete on the Ultimate Fighter, they cut you a paycheck.
Oh yeah.
We got a weekly check and then
you got a weekly check and then you got your fight checks too.
Okay.
Yeah,
but it wasn't massive money.
No, it's like $1,000 a week.
No, the way they sort of, I guess, it makes sense. I've never even thought of that. If you're just getting paid to be on the show, it seems sort of like, hey, we're going to put you up in this house. It's full of booze and a swimming pool and a bunch of goons.
Yeah,
and we'll try to get you on the big show.
Right.
But you don't really hear that side of the story where, you are actually being paid to be
there.
Yeah,
you're being paid to be there, and it's like you've got to get paid. Everybody's got bills and stuff like that.
They're taking you away from work.
Right, they're taking you away from work, and it's like, so you got to get paid.
And especially at that time, the show had blown up.
Right.
So.
Well, yeah, but even the first one, it's like our pay, as far as I know, we were getting paid the exact same way as the Ultimate Fighter 1.
It's probably still the same.
It's probably the same. It's probably the same contract. It's like,
but they gave a chick a belt, man. They gave Carla Esparza a belt for winning it.
Yeah, and I bet you she,
former this weekend.
That girl was insanely
good.
Dude,
that was a gnarly fight.
I didn't see it.
She got picked apart on the feet. Frankly, my comparison was it was like a slightly lesser version of Rich Franklin versus Anderson Silva one. It was a gross mismatch that ended up in brutal violence, and it was between 2 women. They're like 125 pounds. It was kind of hard to watch at the end. I was like, please stop this fight.
That 118. It's 118.
Yeah, it's the straw. It's the super.
Yeah, it's 118.
No, sorry, they're 115.
115.
158. Yeah.
Little.
Yeah, little women. But hey, man, that Polish chick. Yeah, Joanna Jurdershik, her name's not the easiest thing to pronounce, but I think she put the fear of God in that division.
Yeah.
Because I watched they did a nice little open workouts video for UFC 185, and Carla looked good on it. She was just ragdolling her trainer, like just throwing this guy around like a sack of shit. It was hilarious, and I was like, man, that pole chick, she's going to get taken down and get beaten within an inch of her life, and it just didn't go down that way. She didn't get that memo.
I heard she got tagged really early on, took a punch really, really early, and just never could find a groove after that, is what I read.
Same thing happened with Pettis against Rafael dos Anjos.
Yeah, I think he was saying afterwards that he lost.
They said he couldn't see,
After the first punch?
Yeah, after that. I think he took...
Tough guy, keep going, can't see.
Yeah, he couldn't see.
Yeah,
But I think that fight, regardless, was probably going to end up that way. That guy's good.
Yeah. He's got a really cool story, Dos Anjos. I mean, he came into the UFC 0-2. He got knocked out by Jeremy
That was
Jeremy
in the UFC.
Stevens.
That was in the UFC.
In the UFC, Jeremy Stevens knocked him out with like a Street Fighter 2 type uppercut from the center of the octagon, and then he got his jaw broken by Clay Guida. So he went 0-2, then he went 4-4, and now he can lay claim to having beat Donald Cerrone, Anthony Pettis, and Ben Henderson, which is pretty much
That weight class is like they're so competitive.
that's like
It's
the holy trinity of the WEC lightweights that
Yeah.
moved over to the UFC, and I've been running that division since then.
That division's tough though. It's like everybody in there's so good. You know,
I
it's
mean,
like
there are a lot of good ones, though. I mean, middleweight, your former division is looking nice right now. I mean, you've got Hector Lombard. Okay, well, another dude who just got popped for juicing. But Rory McDonald. No, wait, that's 170.
170.
No, you got Yvel Romero. You got Jacare, Gegard Mousasi, Machida, Luke Rockhold.
Masasi just lost to.
No, he just beat
Machida.
Dan Henderson.
But he lost to Machida before that.
He lost to Jacare before that.
Jacare
Yeah,
before that?
Jacare submitted him.
Yeah, Jacare submitted him.
yeah.
That was
But then he came back and-
match because
Yeah,
Masali beat him in Pride.
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, Mousasi knocked
Yeah,
out
that was
Jacare
awesome.
with
That
an up kick.
Yeah, he was on his back, caught him.
That was, I mean, he went on a run, Mousasi. It was in Dream. It was in Dream. He flattened Melvin Manhoff,
Yeah.
Dennis Kang, and Jacare to win
Whatever
that.
happened to Dennis King?
Just lost a bunch of fights.
He's probably in the Philippines. I think he's part Filipino or something.
But he's Canadian.
He's Canadian,
He's Canadian.
yeah.
But
He's
he's lived in, yeah.
But and they like loved him. I think he was making movies. Or
No, it's
something.
Korea.
Korea.
Yeah, I think
He's
it's
real,
probably Korea.
real
Yeah.
famous in Korea.
Maybe they'll try to get Dennis Kang on the show. I haven't heard of him for a
Yeah,
while.
he was on a tear for a while, but it
Yeah, I
happens.
think he retired.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been years.
I wouldn't be surprised if he has. I haven't heard of him fighting for. Maybe he did fight quite recently. We'll check it out after. Crazy. Well, guys, this has been awesome, and I'm sure we could talk for hours. It's great to talk to a real veteran, and Travis, I'm glad to see you're doing well, that you're feeling healthy and staying busy and living life after fighting, man.
Thank you. Thank you
Excellent.
very much.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Paul, it was a pleasure. Good luck with your endeavors as well, guys. This was the Trash Talk MMA podcast. I'm your host, Antoine Pelletier, with my guest, UFC middleweight contender, former UFC middleweight contender, Travis Lutter, and winner of the Ultimate Fighter 4, and Paul Halme, Jiu-Jitsu ace. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Trash Talk MMA podcast. Be sure to visit trashtalkmma.com.
Smile on my face, behind my back, they talk trash.
And don't forget to follow Antoine on Twitter at Trash Talk MMA. Let us know you're listening. Use hashtag Trash Talk MMA.